Hi everyone, it's Peter from PS Sound, and this is going to be another introduction video, just so you know what craziness we are going to do in this Volkswagen Amarok van in the upcoming weeks. You might have seen this car before. This was the car that I tuned, well, I shared the first tuning video of. If you go to the sound quality in-car playlist or into the tuning playlist on the channel, then this was the first one I shared. And that was almost 2 years ago, since the owner went to a competition as well, and in his class in entry unlimited, because his budget is beyond 3,000 euro in the equipment. In that class I think they had around 6 or 7 cars on the day, and he managed to win that day with the EMA competition disc. But now he wants to take it to another level, and that's where he needs our help. He built everything himself before and he did a fantastic job, so that's why I thought to show the car around again, and then I talk through what we are planning, because this is going to be, yeah, one of those mantle builds. So let's go to the back. Whoa. So at the back he managed to squeeze in a lot. He had to shift the bracket of the bottom section of the seat a little bit forward to gain more space for the subs, and he also had to push out the top of the seats, so the angle is quite tight. For rear passengers it's not that comfortable on long rides, but this is all going to change. But first I just show what he has. He's got 2 Alpine V9s, 5-channel amps, running the whole system, mono channels running the subs, then 6 channels running the front end freeway active, and then 2 channels running passive rear fill. Mid bass is down in the door, I think hurts something. I don't think it's the Mille Legend, it's one line below. So he's running through those. I think, yeah, these big ones are for the front end, but they are not used. It's just put in for cosmetics because it looks great. And then these ones run the tweeters. The tweeters are up on the top, so that was the extra 2 channels used for rear fill, but we may not use them now. He had different presets, so he could run the rear fill for different occasions, when he wanted to do party mode or have more fun, more level, or just open the rear doors and play to the outside. So that's the 2 amps that we will use. We may add one more amplifier, we will see how we get on for the mid-bass duty in the new project. And he has a DSP Pro, I'm not even sure whether it's the Mark 1 or the Mark 2, we will see, but that's down there. But he did the wiring and everything himself, he did a great job. Looks nice and tidy, all bolted in with machine bolts into proper mounting points. And yeah, this was a challenging build, that's for sure, because the space is very, very tight. Check out the tuning video, I'm going to drop a link in the description, and you can see what the car was doing with this current system. So up front he had another Hertz mid bass using the airspace of the door, and then he built these nice pillars which are painted. So he had a fair amount of sanding to make them nice and smooth, with the Mille Legend tweeter and mid-range. Direct controller down there with the hack USB. So as you can see, he's using the camera kit so he can charge the phone as well as take the feed for the DSP Pro. So this was his old system. Now on to the new plan. He came to me a few weeks ago, we had a chat, and he had ideas what he would want. He would want more mid bass, more kick, more feel of the kick bass. And those people who sit in my Honda and they can hear what the system is like with my 8-inch drivers in the sealed enclosures on the door, of course, you know, it impresses quite many people. But I always say that yes, I have enclosures, at least I could get greater output. They can play lower, they can keep up with my 18s in IB at the back, but it's still a door location. So no matter what you do, it's a different type of application. It's not using the airspace of the door, and you don't have rattles, but it's still located at the door. And as we know, if you've seen the tuning videos, most of the times I share, or if you go on Patreon, you can see way more RTA evaluation videos. Door location, most of the times, probably 95% of the times, it's just not great, especially on driver side. You have so many cancellations that if you want to build a really accurate competition level system, to me it doesn't cut it. For daily systems, fair enough, but if you want to step beyond that, then yeah, you have to do something different. So he came down to me, he listened to the Suzuki that I haven't even had update on. I have to share a video with you guys regarding the Suzuki as well, where it's at. Because the Suzuki is just silly. What it does in mid-bass in true IB through the Vlodge is, I can put anyone in that car. I put it on for 10 seconds, the first song, and you'll be like, holy shit, I just can't compare it to anything else. The attack, the musicality, transient response in the car, it's just so controlled, so tight. You feel it even at like half level, you can feel it straight away in your chest, and if you turn it up, you're just like, oh my god. It just does something that no other car can do, not even my Honda. And when the owner of this car heard the Suzuki as well, then he was like, okay, now I understand. So what's the point? That his original plan first was to build a huge sealed box onto the door, and we can go further in to the inside of the door as well. So technically we could build a, I don't know, 15-liter sealed box at least, and he wanted a 9-inch SB acoustic type, something large driver, like the Satori line driver. But I told him, you know, that's a big job. You can, with 2 doors, in my Honda that was 10 days work. I don't want to spend a week with these together with Eddie, and then we still end up having a door location. And when we compare that musically as well, what tonality is like, it's never going to be like what true IB can be. Of course, people tell us, you know, you're crazy cutting the cars. I always say, well, it's just a car. If you want to reverse it, you can still reverse it back. I know in some countries you have issues with MOT regulations, and they can be very strict about what you can do. But if you do it tidily, even in countries where the rules are strict, if you do it tidy, they wouldn't be able to tell what's happening, or if you cut holes behind the drivers. This car, I'm going to show that it has a huge Vlodge liner, so nothing would be seen. And that's the point, that's where we are getting now. That after hearing the Suzuki, I was telling him we gotta do the same thing. And he took the kick panel out, he pulled this one up, already sent me pictures weeks ago, and it was pretty clear that it's doable. It's tricky, it won't be as easy as in the Suzuki or in the Clio we did, but we have a lot of height. So actually there's space for 2, but it's gonna have to be on an angle, so we will have to create a mounting, we will have to do a fiberglass mold and some trickery. It's gonna be more complex, but if we have to, you know, a pair of 6.5s in each kicks, it's gonna be mega crazy. Then after that we have to mount mid-range on the dash. We have videos on Patreon talking about the odds and cons of mid-range locations, like on the pillar, on the dash, factory locations on the door. We go deep into those more deeply than in the sound quality in-car playlist when I had 7.1, 7.2 and 7.3. Those parts talking about speaker installation, in those are roughly covered the topic. But on Patreon, if you go there, you can find the link in description. We have weekly topics where we really go deep and we weigh up the odds and cons. And yes, there's, you know, odds and cons to both, but we are going to do mids on the dash in this one too. The blow only starts from there, so we have space, plenty of space. So we are looking at fitting 4-inch drivers up there and making it look nice and neat. Like in the Clio project we had something similar. We will have to take everything out as usual, crazy stuff, and then soundproof the whole dash. And then once that's done, then we have to look at the tweeter installation, relocate tweeter, rebuild this whole pillar. It's all gonna be stripped, and yeah, front end is gonna be completely transformed. And once that's done, but before I talk about the rest of the plan, I just show the Vlodge. It's absolutely massive, and there's a Vlodge liner all the way. It's difficult to see. Eddie, can you please pop me a torch? Yeah. because it's a 4x4 with a huge wheel. You know, I can see 12 inches space from left to right, as you see on the camera. More than 12 inches. It's massive and long, tall. I don't know how much space we have behind the Vlodge liner, but we will make it work. And then when people worry about all the crap that would go to the build of the IB mid-base, well, in this case nothing goes there. We don't even need a lure. We will just have to make sure that the air from the drivers can disperse, and we have to isolate the whole Vlodge. But we see the potential. And then on to the rest of the plan. So, yes, when I say that it's dangerous to listen to the Honda, it's because people get an idea about what IB bass is like, sub bass is like, and it's so easy to fall in love with that. And this owner did that too. Because these subs are nice and punchy, but it's a short cabin, and in order to play really low in a short cabin like this, you would have to take out the whole rear section, take out the rear seats and build a huge box, a lot of corner area, a lot of power, and then you still end up having a box, which is good for street pounding. But if you want musical bass, you want something really fast, even at the low end, with great detail, I don't think anyone can beat true IB. But this is a challenging space. So I told him the only way to do anything is if we cut the back wall. But we had issues with that because first he had a roller on the top of this line, and that roller would just rattle as you know, as crazy as you can ever imagine. It would be I think you would hear it even inside. Outside it would be so rattly that you wouldn't be able to turn it up and drive on the road. So he bought a box for the bed, and it looks pretty neat. But yeah, we will have to come up with a plan, because ideally we don't want whatever manifold we build that's going to brief to the back, it mustn't be connected to the rear bed, because I think even from factory that has to be separated, because if the chassis flexes, then the whole bed can flex a little bit. So we can mount to the back wall, but it will have to be isolated and floating from the rear bed. The subs will be obviously facing to the back with a protective panel to make it look like there's nothing there. There's a lot of space in here. So for daily driving, this airspace will give sufficient airspace. This is like more than a cubic foot, isn't it? I think in here. This is probably twice, if not 3 times, yeah, at least 3 times the airspace of a large saloon car. So we could call it trunk IB in this case, and breathing into the cabin, but if you go to a show, you just pop that rear window, and then you have true IB as such, and at least this area is pretty rigid. So we will have to look into that. I don't know how far we can get with that, because we have 4 days this week, and then 5 days next week between me and Eddie, unless I can pull one of my freelance guys in to help us. But this is a lot of work. If we can get to the IB part, that would be great. If not, then this car has to come back, and then you will have more videos to look at, because this is going to be something that especially some of you guys in America would really want to see, because I know you have many pickups and we hardly ever work on pickups. So yeah, this is gonna be fancy, really fancy and interesting what we can do with this project. So this is where I leave it. As I mentioned, check out description. You can find links there to the measurement video of this tuning, the first tuning video of this van. You can also check out Patreon, and hopefully we can break this project up and share videos with you showing, you know, the separate parts of the install. We will see how much time we have for the whole video footage, but I'll try to do something so you can learn something from it, or at least get inspiration. And feel free to share it. As always, comment, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.